So while you think about your questions, I have one question to the panel, and that is, will India be able to produce these 100 million jobs in the next 10 years within manufacturing?
If I say something about that, in fact, the potential in India is enormous. And I clearly see a possibility with the kind of vision which is unfolded and the project which are described, which are explained here. I clearly see that as a possibility. And some of the initiatives which I saw in the presentation from L.K. Sharma, it talks about the depth of planning, how much they thought through. They're talking about 2040, and they are talking about planning for such a long period and then making a roadmap. So I think $100 million number of employees is very easy to achieve, in my opinion.
Any other comment on that?
How many are you employing in India?
I think you've spoken quite well. Because we are looking at about 70 million, which we'll put in the industrial corridors itself. And when we talk about fourth generation production, I think India is very conscious of the fact that when you talk about economic development, it's not only about GDP growth. We'll be looking at creating jobs. So when you talk about smart robot, I think we have to look at in which are the activities where you actually mechanize manufacturing capacities, and which are the things where we need to employ this large workforce which we create every year. So our economics will depend largely on GDP growth, which creates jobs and which is also sustainable. So if you look at initiatives of the government, we are addressing all these three challenges. That yes, while we grow 9 to 10%, we also need to ensure that we create enough job opportunities through proper skill development initiatives, which we have started, and of course sustainability, which we all have been talking about since morning. So I think this is the model which we are looking at, and when we go for fourth generation industrial revolution, we'll be little conscious of the fact that we can't go with the way developed nations have gone, because they don't have manpower. We have a large workforce. So they need to be fed and they need to be given jobs.
I think just to add to that, there's another aspect that the government has come up with, which is a job loss policy. So in these manufacturing zones and corridors, the government wants to make sure, or rather provide comfort to people who are looking to get jobs, that in the event of a unit closure, which is possible, I mean, we can't predict. So in the event of a unit closure, the person who's employed will be actually paid slightly higher than what the law currently provides for. So if the law provides for a 15-day compensation, what is being proposed is a 20-day compensation. So that is also being backed by, or proposed to be backed by, an insurance fund. So if the company doesn't have the monies, the insurance fund will make these payouts. So that's also something that will probably aid in this 100 million target, I think.
And, in addition to that, I think it is also important, that takes back to our skill development session in terms of how do we re-skill and how do we cross-skill our people. As the new technologies emerge, we need to anyway keep up to the trends, because that's what the market expects, that's what could be financially viable. So then how do we keep people engaged, and how can we find other avenues for them? That is something which not only every company has to talk about, but also every state and also the federal government. I think there is also going to be, in due course of time, a national consensus that could emerge in these areas.
Mm-hmm. Anyone raising their hand in the audience?
My name is Krishna Kant. Actually, this is more of a kind of a knowledge sharing that I want to do based on, will it happen that you are saying, right? Actually, I was in China for many years. I'm in Sweden for the past 7 years, and before that I was in China, and for 4 years, more than 4 years. I observed the development and growth there. So I used to wonder, will India ever grow at China's speed? That was my, China has trains running at 431 kilometers per hour, maglev And I mean, so there's something interesting facts that I really want to share, which India, for example, India has this Aadhaar card scheme, which is like our Swedish person number. They have created 1,000 million cards in 5 years, 8 months against, this is a benchmark record against 6 years was the lowest time that Android has reached 1,000 million users, and YouTube, Facebook, and Google, and all those stuff. And 100 million accounts were created within 2 weeks. And Delhi airport got modernized in 37 months instead of 45 months for Beijing. And the state that I come from, land pooling was done in democracy, and 33,000 acres of land was pooled in just 2 months. No fighting, no firing, no nothing. And DMIC, you have no land under dispute, or it's a genius. I mean, the Telangana iPass. So things in India, the ISRO's achievement of sending to Mars was done with the lowest cost of $70 million. And it is sending foreign satellites. I was really like, I wanted to be in ISRO to achieve that project. So many things in India are getting at China speed or a Dubai speed. I mean, I observe infrastructure projects throughout the world. So the thing is getting started in India. So many things. Sometimes what happens is, for example, in Aadhaar card, if one guy's fingerprints are misplaced, and there is a lot of noise about that negative thing, but the positives are never acknowledged. That's a real big problem. So I just wanted to, bring these case studies.
But I think today we do acknowledge the positive development. Anything more?
Hi, my name is Paritosh Prajapati, and I'm Managing Director of Genexus AB and Genexus India. We are a telecom company providing telecom equipments in India. Looking into smart manufacturing right now in India and seeing how is India government supporting manufacturing locally in terms of import structure, custom duty structure, because currently, telecom equipments are available in India, but components are not available. And how do you see there that government is supporting that?
I think government is coming out with some. They have come out with a telecom policy, and they have opened up telecom sector through FDI. I think Mr. Ravi Shankar will be in Sweden next month or next week. So probably, he will be the right person to answer. But yes, manufacturing facilities are being, set up in India now.
There's a word of caution if there are no questions. Maybe Shail.
No, I think the presentations were so good.
Okay.
They were crystal clear.
While you think about your questions, I'll have one, and that is basically linking back to the ambassador's last question of the last sessions. We know that R&D and manufacturing are very closely linked. How do you see from you companies, L&T Infotech with experience both from Sweden and India, say Volvo and ABB, how are you benefiting on also having large R&D operations in India, and how are you by that learning to do innovation for a country with a different demand that you can then use abroad as well, those learnings that you get in India? Some comment on that?
Yeah. So I would say ABB as a group, we have recognized India's capability in R&D developments long back, and is one of our global lead R&D centers for the globe. And we also have not just R&D and engineering centers we've opened. And we execute most of our global projects from our India Engineering Center. So the capabilities available and the talents available, they are immense. And we have recognized it long back, and we are making use of that. And it is stated for further expansion. And in addition to R&D, we have also established all other services. We have established a global business services center in India. And that is also taking place and coming up in a big way in Bangalore. So the capabilities are immense, and we are making use of that.
Yeah, and it also taps in the so-called diversity in thoughts in terms of the way of thinking depending on the technology available in the two countries, and also adaptability of those technologies in the business cases. So that also is the key. So it's like a mix and match that we will be able to do. so that it could be a win-win situation for both Sweden and India in general. So.
For us, what I see as a big advantage working with R&D in sites located in India is that, of course, first of all, the people there are very highly educated, and they need, of course, to gain some experience. So if you start to, for instance, designing in the automotive, you need a number of years of experience. You need to share experience, and etc. But what we see really, what I see really as a big advantage is that with the mindset of the people coming from India, which is a complete different environment with this very high speed, is that people think differently. So you start to be challenged in the Western world regarding how you should develop something, how far should you work on that, etc., etc. And that's really something that we gain from.
Thank you very much. I think then we round off this session. I think there were definitely some positive statements, one of them being that we do believe that these 100 million jobs will be created within the Make in India initiative. And I hope you all take advantage of also networking with the panel here after we close this session. Thank you very much.